when you submitted this stack of notes and this specific consultant's guide to us, it painted just such a relatable picture. Imagine you have just landed in a brand new Salesforce org.
Oh, yeah. We've all been there.
Right. It's like maybe you're stepping in as a consultant, starting a fresh engagement, or you're an in-house admin taking over this massively complex inherited system. What actually goes on your immediate mental checklist?
Usually you're looking at user profiles, diving straight into permission sets.
Exactly. Untangling a web of sharing rules and probably running some data quality reports to see what kind of mess you are inheriting. But as you're doing all of that, you are walking right past the most used, yet fundamentally least configured tool on the entire screen.
The global search bar.
Sitting right there at the top.
It really is hiding in plain sight. I mean, it's the one tool every single user interacts with every single day. Yet in practice, most organizations are just running search with whatever settings came out of the box.
Yeah, they just leave it alone.
Right. And users eventually train themselves to work around the limitations of the platform rather than unlocking its actual power. They just assume the search is naturally clunky.
So they create their own workarounds.
Yeah.
Heavily reliant on bookmarks or just building endless list views.
Exactly.
Which brings us to the core mission of our deep dive today. This is tailored specifically for the sources you sent us. We're pulling from the consultant's guide you shared, titled, The Search Features You're Walking Past.
It's a great guide.
It really is. We're going to unpack 4 highly underutilized Salesforce search features that can deliver massive immediate wins for your users. And the best part is that you can implement these without writing a single line of code.
Zero code, which is the dream.
We are talking about transforming the daily experience of everyone in the org. Okay, let's unpack this with our first and probably easiest win, which is natural language search, or NLS.
NLS is fantastic.
This is the feature that nobody told the users about, and it has an absolute 30-second wow factor. If you want to impress a stakeholder during a demo, you just go to the global search bar in Lightning and type a conversational phrase.
Something like my open opportunities this month.
Right. And instead of doing a standard keyword match where the engine just looks for the actual word month in a record name, Einstein Search interprets the phrase and returns a perfectly filtered list.
What's fascinating here is how this directly addresses the #1 complaint we hear from users.
Too many clicks.
Exactly. Too many clicks to find what they need. With natural language search, you bypass the clicks entirely. You're essentially building a list view on the fly just by typing a sentence.
But to use it effectively, you kind of need to know the parameters right.
Yeah, it currently supports 7 standard objects. Those are account case contact, lead opportunity task, and knowledge. Though knowledge is currently in a pilot phase for this feature.
Okay, so each of those objects has its own specific set of supported filters that Einstein understands. How forgiving is the syntax when a user is just guessing what to type?
The syntax is remarkably forgiving, actually. If we take cases, for example, a user can search by open or closed, status, priority, origin, date, and ownership.
So a user could literally just type high priority cases created last week.
Yep, exactly that. For leads, it understands filters like converted or unconverted industry rating and location. So they could type leads rated hot with industry healthcare. The engine just maps those conversational words right to the back-end fields.
The ownership keywords seem like the biggest time saver to me. Typing my returns records owned by the user and my team pulls team-owned records.
You can even search cases owned by Sarah and it matches against the user field.
I also noticed in your notes that if the org uses Einstein lead scoring or opportunity scoring, you could throw the word top into the mix. So my top opportunities in Boston or top leads last month.
It integrates seamlessly into the user's natural thought process. They don't have to translate their intent into database logic. However, as an admin or consultant evaluating an org, you do have to be aware of the quirks.
Right. NLS is powerful, but it has boundaries, especially regarding language.
Very much so.
First off, natural language search is highly English dependent. Let's say you are working in a multilanguage org. If you have renamed your standard objects, it will respect those new names. So if you configured the org in Spanish and changed the case object name to quesos typing, my quesos will actually work.
Because the engine recognizes my as the English operator and quesos as the recognized object alias.
Right. But if a user types mis quesos using the Spanish word for my, it fails entirely. The date expressions like last month or this quarter are also entirely English only.
Another quirk with dates is that it does not support exact dates. If a user types January 23, 2020, the natural language engine won't parse it as a filter. It relies entirely on relative date expressions.
Good to know.
But perhaps the most crucial technical trap to watch out for involves state and country pick lists. NLS uses the integration value for state and country pick lists, not the display name.
I want to pause there because that feels super counterintuitive. If your user sees United States on the screen, why does the search engine care about the back-end integration value?
It comes down to how the natural language processing model maps entities. The engine is comparing the user's search text against the canonical data stored in the index, which relies on that integration value.
So if the integration value in the back-end doesn't perfectly match the display name that the user sees on the screen,
Say the integration value is US, but the display name is United States.
the natural language results will just break or return unexpected records?
Precisely. So if you are dropping into a new org, checking those integration values early in your engagement is vital.
Before we move off NLS, the guide you shared mentions a pilot feature called natural language search filters. Usually when Einstein applies those filters from your sentence, they are locked in.
Yeah.
But with this, pilot users can tweak Einstein's applied filters in real time. If a user types accounts in New York and Einstein matches the state, the user can click into the UI and switch the filter to billing city New York instead.
It requires actionable instant results to be enabled in setup, but it is available to test in sandboxes right now.
Which is awesome.
That pilot makes search an interactive experience rather than just a static query, which is a great transition into how we actually manage these experiences.
Here's where it gets really interesting. We are moving from the search bar itself into the back end. There is a setup menu item that almost everyone ignores called Search Manager.
Oh yeah, people scroll right past it.
They really do. This is not just a basic settings page where you toggle features on and off. It is actually a fully fledged per channel, per profile configuration engine.
It is the control room for your search experience. Search Manager revolves around the concept of a query configuration. You can create completely separate search configurations for the Einstein Global Search Bar based on the user profile.
Separate configurations for your Experience Cloud sites, and even separate ones for the Lightning Knowledge component.
And within these configurations, you control exactly which objects are searchable and which fields are indexed.
The hidden gem in Search Manager seems to be something called rules. The guide describes these as silent filters applied to the search.
Silent filtering is incredibly powerful. Let's look at a concrete scenario from the source text. Imagine you have a customer service team, and they're constantly complaining that their search results are cluttered with old, closed cases.
Making it hard to find the active issues.
Exactly. Through Search Manager, you can create a rule on the case object specifically for that service team profile. You set the rule to status not equals closed.
If you do that, do those cases just vanish from the search results? Does it require a deployment or any custom code?
They vanish instantly, and it requires zero code. You save it, and it affects search answers, instant results, recommended results, and standard keyword search.
No clunky filter cluttering up the user's interface.
None. You can use lookup pick list record type and checkbox fields to build these silent rules.
Wait, so if I apply that silent filter to the service team profile, does that override their own list view filters, or do they stack? How does that interact with the rest of their workspace?
The silent rule applies strictly to the global search index queries. It doesn't alter their list views or reports. It simply stops those records from surfacing when they use the search bar.
That is slick.
It is, but you do need to know the limits. You can only have up to 10 rules per object per configuration.
Okay.
More importantly, these rules only work if the user actually has read access to the field you are filtering on. If the service team user doesn't have read access to the status field, the system cannot filter based on a field the user isn't allowed to see.
Makes total sense from a security standpoint.
Yeah.
There's another massive issue that Search Manager solves, which I see constantly in new org rollouts. The classic cold start problem.
Yes.
An admin will deploy a beautifully architected system, and on day one, the brand new users complain they can't find anything in the search bar.
To fix the cold start, you have to understand why it happens mechanically. Einstein Search is highly personalized. It learns what you care about based on your last 90 days of interactions and clicks.
But a brand new user doesn't have 90 days of data.
They have zero data. Einstein doesn't know what objects to recommend, meaning the search bar might leave out objects that are critical to their new role.
But you can fix this right in Search Manager using the Always Search setting. You can force up to 5 specific objects to always appear in the search results for a specific profile, regardless of their click history.
So if you have a new marketing team profile, you lock in campaign and lead. For a new service agent, you lock in case and knowledge.
It guarantees a baseline for those new users from day one.
It supplements Einstein's ranking without overwriting it. It is a small configuration tweak, but it transforms the onboarding experience. New employees aren't fighting the system while it tries to learn their habits.
A quick note from your sources for anyone working with Experience Cloud sites, specifically Lightning Web Runtime or LWR sites. Search Manager handles your configurations there as well, but there is a hard limit of up to 40 searchable objects per LWR site configuration.
And if you make changes to that configuration, it is not instantly live like the internal CRM rules.
Right. You have to go back into the Experience Builder, reselect the search configuration from the results layout component, and publish it to force a refresh. Plus, since the Winter 25 release, Search Manager is where you go to control all explicit UI filter options.
It truly is the central hub for search governance, which transitions us into an area of governance that is absolutely crucial, yet surprisingly overlooked by many architects.
We're moving into territory that represents a massive security blind spot. Your notes highlighted the 100 field limit in the search index. As an admin, you spend so much time configuring field-level security to ensure users only see the data they are permitted to see.
Oh, yeah.
But the search engine only applies that security to standard fields and to the first 100 searchable custom fields per object.
Custom pick list fields are always protected, so they don't count toward this limit. But if you are analyzing a mature org, it is incredibly common to have core objects with well over 100 custom fields.
Way over 100 usually.
Right. Any custom field sitting at position 101 or beyond is completely unprotected in the search index.
So what does this all mean? How does this actually play out maliciously or accidentally in a real production environment?
The consultant's guide provides a chilling exploit example. Imagine you have an employee object. On this object, there is a highly sensitive custom field called Trade Union Tracking Union Membership.
Okay.
Let's assume this field happens to be the 101st custom field created on that object, pushing it past the protected limit. Now you have a user who does not have field-level security access to see the trade union field. If they look at the employee record page layout, that field is entirely invisible.
But because it is the 101st field, it is unprotected in the search backend. So the user can go to the global search bar and type in the name of a specific trade union.
Precisely. Because the user has record-level access to the employee record itself, the search engine will scan the index, find a match in that hidden trade union field, and return the employee record in the search results.
Wow.
The user still cannot see the actual field value on the screen, but the simple fact that the record popped up in the search results for that specific union name allows the user to deduce that the employee is a member of that union.
They have extracted sensitive information purely through a search match, bypassing the UI visibility.
Exactly.
That is a terrifying loophole.
Yeah.
The data is hidden on the page layout, but the search index just handed them the secret anyway. Thankfully, your notes mentioned that as of the Summer 24 update, admins finally have a mechanism to control this.
The remediation process is straightforward now. You navigate back into Search Manager, go to Index Management, and select Manage Field Level Security for search.
Nice.
This interface allows you to perform an audit and manually select exactly which 100 custom fields get that protection in the index.
So if an org has 150 custom fields on an object, an admin needs to actively look at that list and purposefully move the less sensitive fields.
Like internal tracking numbers or generic notes fields?
Right, move those out of the protected list to make room for the highly sensitive ones, like the trade union example. Or just remove those highly sensitive fields from the search index entirely so they can't be used to match results at all.
It is a critical audit to perform during any new engagement. When you land in an established org, Search Manager will actually show you how many objects have unprotected fields. It surfaces a very real security exposure in minutes.
That's a lifesaver.
There is, however, a crucial warning here regarding the knowledge object. The knowledge object does not currently support this specific field-level security mechanism for most standard and custom fields in the search index.
If you're working with a client that relies heavily on knowledge and they store sensitive content within custom fields on those articles, what is the protocol?
That is a major red flag that must be raised during a security review. The 100 field limit is a hard cap. It cannot be arbitrarily increased by Salesforce support in production or sandboxes.
It's just a hard wall.
Yeah, it operates on a shared responsibility model, meaning the architect must design around that limitation for knowledge.
Good to know. Well, we have covered natural language magic, silent routing rules, and closing index security loopholes. Now we are going to level up. This last section is aimed a bit more at the technical architects, but it is vital for anyone in the ecosystem to understand conceptually, because Salesforce Search no longer stops at just CRM data.
Not at all. It extends far beyond the CRM through federated search, utilizing the OpenSearch standard. Salesforce provides a framework of open search connectors that allow you to wire external search providers and AI models directly into the Salesforce global search bar.
The blueprint supports some massive platforms. We're talking about Amazon Bedrock covering things like Anthropic, Claude, Titan text embeddings, and Cohere.
It supports Azure OpenAI with GPT-4 and text embedding models.
Google Cloud Platform's Vertex AI, standard OpenAI models, even document processing through Amazon TextRact.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, these connectors are the underlying plumbing that powers massive platform features like Data Cloud's search answers.
Right.
It allows an organization to take all of their existing external wikis, their SharePoint document repositories, their massive investments in LLMs on Azure or AWS, and pipe all of that intelligence directly into the one place users are already working.
Let's walk through a day-in-the-life scenario of how an admin actually wires this up and how a user experiences it. If a user types, "What is the new remote work policy?" into the Salesforce search bar, what is actually happening across these connectors?
When that user asks the question, the OpenSearch connector calls an embedding model to perform a semantic search against the external repository, say a SharePoint drive containing HR PDFs.
Okay.
It finds the relevant external document, extracts the context, and then uses a large language model to generate a natural language response, summarizing the policy, displaying it directly inside the Salesforce search interface.
You transform the search bar from a simple keyword tool into a genuinely unified system of intelligence.
Yeah, exactly.
But let's ground this with a reality check. Before anyone scopes this into a massive integration project, your notes detail some strict limits for federated search.
Always limits to keep in mind.
First, there is a limit of 100,000 new search results per hour across all your external data sources. That sounds like a lot, until you have an enterprise org with 5,000 users constantly searching.
Very true.
Second, you are capped at a maximum of 200 external objects per org, and the default is actually 100, requiring a support case just to get to 200. Also, oaths token lengths for external systems are capped at 4,000 characters, and the connection timeout maxes out at 120 seconds.
Perhaps the most important limitation regarding the user experience is that standard Salesforce search enhancements do not apply to external results.
Like lemmatization.
Right, lemmatization, which is the engine's ability to map words back to their root form. So searching running also matches run. That won't work on federated data.
What about spell correction?
Spell correction nicknames and synonym groups that work beautifully on CRM data are also unsupported. The external provider is completely responsible for its own relevance ranking and error correction.
That makes sense technically, but it is definitely something a client needs to understand before they expect a flawless Google-like experience across 10 different fragmented databases.
Setting expectations is key.
Absolutely. But bringing this all together based on the sources you provided, the gap between a well enough out-of-the-box search and a properly configured search is massive.
Night and day.
Doing this foundational work enabling natural language search so users can just type what they want, setting up search manager rules to silently filter out the noise, fixing that 100-field security gap, and planning for open search integrations delivers instant code-free value to every single person in the org.
That is exactly the kind of deep work that earns repeat engagements.
It really is.
This raises an important question, though, as we look at the trajectory of these features. As OpenSearch and AI connectors seamlessly blend internal CRM data, external company documents, and generated AI answers into one single search bar, the user no longer needs to know where data lives.
Right, you just ask the search bar.
Does this mean the traditional Salesforce navigation menu, clicking through tabs and objects, is becoming obsolete? If search becomes a unified system of intelligence, will the future of the CRM interface just be a single, omnipresent search box?
That is something to think about for sure. Thank you so much for sending us these notes and joining this deep dive. We highly encourage you to go test these features in a sandbox and completely transform your users' daily experience. Until next time.